Welcome back, everybody. My name is All Fun and Games. I stream every day on Twitch TV, and I also make fun little videos here on YouTube. Today, we're going to be talking about the worst character in Don't Starve Together. Now, this is my personal opinion, and of course, it's as of August 2023, so as time goes on, all these characters will eventually get their own skill trees. So until then, let's start it out. First of all, we're going to go through the list here, and I'm going to make a beeping noise until I get to the character that I think is the worst in Don't Starve Together. So shall we do that? Beep 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 beep. Yeah, that's right, Walter. Unfortunately, Walter, for you currently are the worst character for me in Don't Starve Together. Now, you might be wondering, how is this possible? Walter has range attacks, definitely not the worst character compared to a character like Wes. Yeah, so Wes is supposed to be not necessarily the worst character, but definitely a character that doesn't make it easy for you to survive. However, Wes still is not the worst character. Worley, on the other hand, might be considered not the best character, but still has a lot of perks, and I think Worley will eventually get a really good skill tree. Winona is also not a character on my fan list, but probably going to get better down the road. Still not that bad of a character to play, and of course we have Willow, which doesn't have a lot of love, but still not the worst character either. The reason why Walter, for me, is the worst character, if not the worst character in Don't Starve Together, is because there's really not many plus sides to Walter. You might be considering, like I said, that range attack is actually pretty good, especially if you know how to utilize it. The trouble is with Walter is when Walter gets attacked and or in danger, your sanity is dipping like mad. So what ends up happening is you're going to get yourself into a fight, and Walter's sanity is actually going to be the thing that gets you in trouble. Now, mind you, this might not be a problem if you're using Walter's range, using the little slingshot. However, you're still allergic to bees, which is not really much of a problem, has no interest in fashion, which, okay, has four-legged friend, which is Wobby, which is probably the only plus side, which means that Wobby's going to go there, grow big. You can store stuff in Wobby. Good with the slingshot, which I already mentioned, not afraid of anything except getting hurt. So the other cool thing is with Walter that you might be going, well, what about this? Is the fact that, of course, Walter brings up other people's sanity, and when you're around the campfire and stuff, and blah, 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 blah. So it's not that the Walter is all around extremely horrible. I just think that Walter doesn't have enough love to actually make Walter anywhere close to any other character. Now, Wes is still probably low on the tier list. However, Walter with the sanity drop and the fact that Walter cannot really get too close to battle, and even while you're riding Wobby, all you can really do is use your ranged weapons, which is fine, but keep in mind, now that the actual Bright Shades are around, okay, fine, it's a little bit easier, but once Walter starts to get hit a few times, you're probably going to be struggling a little bit to survive. And because of that, because sanity becomes a huge part in Don't Starve Together, sanity items are a little bit tough to come by. Mind you, there's cactus, green caps, and a few other items that'll increase your sanity, but getting those and consistently having those, especially when you're in a fight, can really be a little tough. Now, coming from somebody who's playing Don't Starve Together for a long time, I do like the fact that Walter does have a companion Wobby, which is basically a free beefalo. Feeding them 4 monster meat will convert them into a gigantic little, walking, talking giant dog. However, the fact that the dog doesn't do anything and can't attack, and also as soon as the dog gets hit, reverts back to a small form, is kind of a little annoying. As with a regular beefalo, that would not happen. So you have to remember that Walter doesn't necessarily benefit from riding Wobby necessarily, although you can use Walter to transport a lot of items early on, for example, all the set pieces that you need, which is kind of helpful. But then late game, you kind of want to have Walter on top of a beefalo, which of course requires you to tame a beefalo, and then of course still using Wobby as a companion to carry a lot of your stuff. Once again, combining that with Chester can really be fun too, and then the same goes for Hutch inside the caves. The trouble is, though, with Walter that I find is, once again, if you get yourself into a position where you're getting attacked or anything else, you're going to find yourself literally struggling with sanity. And a lot of you might be going, sanity's not a problem, but it truly is. When you're trying to attack something, especially in a boss fight, and you have ample amount of shadow creatures trying to attack you, and you're trying to struggle to continuously attack said thing, well, you're not going to be really using range weapons too much as you think it is. Plus, the range weapons don't do much damage. And at the end of the day, they don't attack extremely quick. There are ways to increase the attack speeds of this, but in the end, it doesn't work out in the way that you think it will. So for me, Walter, unfortunately, is the bottom of the barrel for me for characters. Now, keep in mind, I have talked a little bit bad about Winona, but I think soon Winona is going to have a big bonus, especially with the skill tree. And I hope the same happens for Walter. There's other characters that I mentioned previously, and of course you can check out my best and my worst character videos on YouTube, which I highly suggest you do. You might disagree with me about Walter being the worst character, but as of right now, I don't see many people playing Walter, and anytime I mention myself playing Walter, everyone's like, no, please don't do that. So, like I said, comment down below in the comments. Let me know what you think. And at the end of the day, it's obviously just my personal opinion. So that doesn't mean that you have to listen to me, but you might consider the fact that if you are choosing a character to try out for the first time, feel free to refer to my other videos. And if you have any questions, feel free to post them down below. If you have any issues, feel free to post them down below and say, hey, Walter is actually a really good character because of blank. I hope I mentioned most of the things for Walter. I'm sure there's a few things that I missed over, but in the end, for me, Walter, unfortunately, you're nowhere near the top. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one.